In the heart of ancient Persia, where mighty kings ruled over lands stretched far and wide, where gold glistened and power pulsed through the veins of empires, lived a young orphan girl named Hadassah. She was not born to royalty. She never wore silk robes. She had no palace lineage. Yet she was chosen by God for a purpose that would shake the kingdom. Her story? It's not just one of beauty or crowns. It's a story of courage born in silence, of destiny disguised in danger. King Xerxes of Persia ruled with absolute authority. One day, during a grand feast overflowing with wine, he called for Queen Vashti to display her beauty before drunken nobles. But Vashti refused. A queen, saying no to a king? It was unthinkable. She was removed, and a decree was made. The king would search for a new queen, one fairer, obedient, and fit for royalty. Girls were taken from across the empire, brought into the palace, bathed in spices, soaked in perfumes, all for a chance to be seen by the king. Among them, a quiet, humble Jewish girl named Hadassah. But in the palace, she was known by another name, Esther. She kept her heritage a secret, just as her cousin Mordecai advised. He raised her like a daughter after her parents died, and though she wore the robes of Persia, her heart still beat for her people. When Esther stood before the king, she asked for nothing, no lavish jewels or favors. Her beauty wasn't just in her face, it was in her spirit. And when King Xerxes laid eyes on her, something stirred. Out of all the women, he chose her. Esther, the orphan, became queen of Persia. But she would soon discover that royalty comes with a price. In the shadows of the court, a man named Haman rose to power. Proud and pompous, he demanded that everyone bow before him. And they did, except one man, Mordecai, Esther's cousin. "I bow to no man," Mordecai said, "only to God." Haman burned with rage, but his pride demanded more than Mordecai's death. He plotted to annihilate all the Jews in Persia. He whispered lies into the king's ear. "There is a people among you who obey their own laws. They do not honor the king. Let them be destroyed." A decree was signed. The seal of death was placed. A date was set for the extermination of every Jew in the kingdom. When Mordecai heard of the decree, he tore his clothes and wept bitterly at the palace gates. Esther heard the news and sent word to him, and his reply pierced her heart. "Do not think that because you are in the king's house you alone will escape. If you remain silent at this time, deliverance will come from elsewhere. But who knows, perhaps you were made queen for such a time as this." Tears filled Esther's eyes. She knew what it meant to go before the king uninvited. It was against the law and could cost her life. But something shifted inside her. A fire lit. A calling was awakened. "Tell our people to fast for 3 days," she said. "I will go to the king, even if it means death. If I perish, I perish." Dressed in royal robes, Esther stood outside the king's throne room. Her heart pounded. The law was clear. Unless the king extended his golden scepter, she would die. But as she stepped in, the king looked up, and in that moment, grace met purpose. He held out the scepter. "What is it, Queen Esther?" he asked. "Even to half the kingdom, it shall be given you." But Esther was wise. She didn't reveal Haman's plot right away. She invited the king and Haman to a banquet, and then another. At the second banquet, Esther's voice did not tremble. "O king, if I have found favor in your sight, I ask you to spare my life and the lives of my people." The king's eyes widened. Who would dare to threaten you? And Esther turned slowly toward the man seated beside them. "This enemy is Haman." The room fell silent. The king stormed out in fury. And Haman, the proud man who built gallows for Mordecai, was hung on those very gallows. But the decree still stood. Persian law could not be undone. So the king gave Esther and Mordecai the authority to write a new decree. Let the Jews defend themselves. And on the day meant for their destruction, the Jews rose up, defended their lives, and gained victory. Mourning turned into dancing. Fear turned into faith. And that day became a celebration, a feast still honored today, Purim. Esther, the girl with no crown, no voice, no power, became the woman who saved a nation. She taught the world that God can use the hidden and humble. Silence does not mean absence. And courage is not the absence of fear, but moving forward in spite of it. Maybe you're like Esther. You feel out of place, unqualified, silenced. But what if, like her, you were positioned for such a time as this? Where you are isn't random. Who you are isn't a mistake. And what you carry might just be the answer to someone's deliverance. Did this story move you? Share it. Comment what part touched you the most. And remember to follow Testament and Totem for more timeless stories of purpose, faith, and victory.